Greetings, friends and fiends, I'm Natty Ultra, and this is Empyrion Galactic Survival. Welcome back to the 15th and final episode of the retrofit of the Gunboat Bravo, or should I say the retrofitted Gunboat Bravo, now the Fenris Class Gunboat that you see behind me. And in today's episode, I am going to take you on a tour of this vessel. But without further ado, let's get started. Let me change my perspective. There we go. Excuse me, my voice is still a little gravelly. Oh, lordy. I chose a dry desert planet for this showcase. I don't know. I thought it just looked cool. As you can see, there are a number of other small vessels out here, plus one hover vessel. Each of these vessels can be stored on the Fenris. And once we're done with the tour, maybe we'll come back out and take a look at the hammer, as well as the anvil, both of which I have yet to show in any of my episodes. So we'll do that. You guys know the hammer because I utilize it quite often and have in previous episodes. So, but you guys are familiar with the Wisp as well as the Furies. Alright, so there are two ports of entry on either side, port and starboard, of the Fenris. Would be these little hatches here. They are pretty clearly designated, and they have a couple of lights shining on them, and they can be seen decently well at night once you're close enough. But just go right under there, and one boost from the jetpack should put you into the grav lift for it to take hold, and it does. Let me turn my jetpack back off. I'm in creative mode, so the jetpack actually functions as an actual jetpack, and you can fly around. So alright, this is the hangar deck. It is still very similar to that of the original gunboat. The floors have double armaments, as well as the repair cube in the center. Now, I'm not entirely certain, but I placed a glass block over the repair cube. And the reason I've done this is that from my own experience, utilizing the gunboats in the past, if you drive over these and you're not directly on top, your vessels tend to kind of tilt to the left or right. So this kind of makes it to where that doesn't happen. Now, I don't know if that glass block will impede the repair, but we'll have to test it. I've yet to test that. As you can see, the hangar has ample storage. There is a lot of cargo boxes in here. In fact, I've even hidden a few of the ammo boxes in behind these, since with 6.0 you don't need to physically access those, and you can do it all from the control panel. The hangar also has 6 sentry turrets for invading players, should I ever get boarded, or anyone else for that matter. On this side of the hangar, there will be a armor repair station. Right now, there is a bit of an issue. I don't know if they fixed it with the latest update, but there was an issue when you saved your blueprint to the workshop and you tried to retrieve it. It broke the blueprint and you could not spawn it in the game, which was kind of a bummer. So I left the armor repair station out. This is where it will go eventually. And on this side, we have an O2 station. And this. That's right. This is a release for the hangar door and ramps. Now, I love these switches. I absolutely love them. They're a little bit... they take a little getting used to. Especially when you're programming them to access or open and close various like doors and whatnot. So, but once you do get used to them, they're, oh my gosh, they're fantastic. The original gunboat has 3 ramps, or I should say the modified gunboat that we used on the Wolves community server has 3 ramps that lower to the ground, and you had to do each of those manually. But I have linked not only the hangar door, but the ramps as well to this one switch, so that the hangar door opens and the ramps fold out to the ground, and vice versa when you flip the switch. And you do that with, well, what you do with the, let's bring that up. Oh, we need to go here, don't we? For the signal logic. I'm not going to go into that right now. I may touch on it a bit later, but I'm just going to show you how this works. There we go. And when I flip the switch, it retracts the ramps and closes the door. So when this is in the red position, everything is locked up. And when it's in the green position, they are open. Ah, gosh, I love those. I love switches. It's like it heralds back to my Minecraft days. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else inside the hangar that I would like to point out? Nope, I think that just about covers it. Like I said, there are 2 ways to get outside the ship from, actually I would say 3 ways to get outside the ship from the hangar. These 2 ports here that go down to the bottom of the ship. Yep. And there are 2 grav lifts here that make that you can take to get up to the crew level. Or I should say the crew deck, I guess. But let us take a tour. Or we make our way into the engine room. As you can see, there's 2 more sentry turrets. There's actually 4, there's 6 in here in total. A couple of them are tucked up there on the ceiling, and others are in the back of the engine room, right there. Again, this engine room is 6.0 compliant, so you have no worries moving around in here. You won't get baked or irradiated from any of the components in here. And access to these compartments, either the generator compartments or the warp core compartment, can be accessed through those doors up there via your drone. And here in just a second, I will show you how that works. This room also has cargo boxes. It's got 2 here, as well as 2 advanced constructors. Now I know any door that can seal will have this blue shimmering force field, even on the inside of the ship. So that's why that's there. If you're familiar with the experimental build of this game, you already know all about this. So I'm not really going to go into it. But it has 2 of the constructors there, and just behind the constructors on either side is a offline protection unit, as well as the artificial gravity unit. They're both tucked inside the walls where you cannot see them right now. But I wanted the engine room to have a very industrial appearance. So I've got piping and whatnot coursing throughout the engine room. And I've tried through the textures to make it look like an engine as best as I possibly could anyways. As you can see in there, there is the core of the ship as well as the warp fuel tank. Excuse me. Ugh, my voice. Let's see. I want to take you up with the drone. Let me go ahead and put that out there. There we go. The drones are a lot better. You've probably heard me complain about them in the past as how janky and a bit wonky they can be when you utilize them. But they definitely have, they've done something. I'm pretty sure I read something about it. Don't quote me on that. But they are a little bit easier to maneuver now, which I'm completely stoked about. But you access these compartments by going through these doors, these hatches. Should the ship take damage while you're out in space, you can do quick repairs with your drone. Just come in here and do whatever you need to do. And the same can be said for the generator compartments. Now, this ship... Well, let's turn this back on here. It does not show me a thing. Okay, anyways, these tier 2, I believe these are the tier 2 generators, the largest of the generators you can place on a capital vessel. One of these is more than enough, is more than adequate to power this entire ship. But I was testing it, and the tier below this, even when I used 2 of them, wasn't quite enough. I mean, it definitely was quite a draw on the power. So I end up using the tier 2 generators, and I do believe the original gunboat also has these. And like I said, it's more than enough power. And I could have used 1, but I wanted to balance out the engine room, so I put 2 in here. And all of the fuel tanks are just in behind the generator. Take a look at that. We'll just go over to devices. And there are quite a few. There are 28 in total. There is 26 tier 3 fuel tanks and 2 tier 2 ones. The tier 2 ones, there were some odd areas that the tier 3 would not fit into, so I put 2 of the smaller tanks in there. That's why it's like that. So let's close that out. And we will leave by our little doors. Well, I say that about the drone. The drone is still a little bit, takes some getting used to. And let's recall that. And that is the engine room. Alrighty. Let us move on. And I will take you up to the crew deck. Alright. This is a bit of an overlook and kind of like a lounge. Now, I may later on replace this table with another passenger seat. I'm just not sure yet. I hope that they make it to where when you're seated, because in 6.0 you will have the capacity or the ability to sit in these. And I hope they make it to where they're just like, or they function just like the passenger seats, and so that when the ship is in flight and in space, you can be seated here, and you'll be fine, and you won't fly out the back of the ship. So that would be nice. That would be great. Hope you hear my request, Eleon, because I like that. Anyways, up there is the ventilator, which you will need to oxynize your entire vessel. And then this is also a bit of a, like I said, this is a lounge slash med bay, I guess, because we have the clone chamber here as well as the med station. All right, on this side we have the crew quarters. Has quite a few amenities, everything from tables to workstations, computers, and a large screen television, as well as bunks. And I'm not entirely certain, but I think these bunks function just like any other bed, so that it will give you the boost, the bonus, or the effect for sleeping in them or utilizing them. And just through this room is the bathroom. Has 2 showers as well as 2 toilets, which remove negative buffs. Alright, and we make our way back across the lounge into the mess hall. Now, there may be more tables here than what is required, or more than what the ship would ever have in crew. I don't know. I'm guessing that only one... Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I've been fighting allergies and sinuses and a head cold. It's been ridiculous. But I do apologize for clearing my throat over and over again. But I think that probably only 2 people can sit in one of these each. I'm not sure yet. That's yet to be in the game, or at least not that I'm aware of anyways. This room also has 2 LCD screens and 3 large refrigerators plus the food processor. And you'll see bits of deco throughout the ship. I hope that these eventually serve a purpose, because they're really cool. I like these things. Alright, and that should be all of the crew decks. Let us move to the command deck, which is just through here. And let's hop up the stairs. Sometimes when you land your vessel, and if the ground is uneven at all, I found that these stairs sometimes do not work properly, which is a shame. I hope they kind of fix that, because, you know, I like to have a few stairs here and there, you know. Alright, up we go. This is the command deck, and this is the central hub of the command deck. These doors here will take you out to the landing bays. Or should I say landing pads. This one here is for the Hammer, the dropship. Alrighty. We'll move back in here, and off to either side is where the Furies will be docked. The ship will have a complement of 2 Furies plus 1 dropship. And I'll just, for the sake of continuity, take you over to this side too, which is exactly the same. This room too also has a number of storage compartments. It's got 1 cargo box here, plus a couple of lockers, as well as these armor lockers here that I positioned on the ceiling, and another O2 station. Again, on this side will be an armor repair station once I put that in here. So, yeah. Alright, and on to the bridge. Once I get this ship into space a little later on, I will take you on another walkabout inside just to show you. And right now the sun is penetrating the hull, and so it's illuminating everything. But so you can see the lighting of all the little deco pieces and whatnot. We'll do that again once we get up there. There's also sentry turrets in here. As you can see, there's sentry turrets all throughout the vessel. This room also has 2 cargo boxes and a lot of deco pieces. We'll make our way up to the bridge proper. There we go. The bridge also has 4 passenger seats, as well as an elevated cockpit for the pilot. Alrighty. And when you are in the pilot seat, and if you make it to where you have free look on, you can see quite a bit. You are a bit obstructed to the left and right, but some sacrifices had to be made. Alright. Alright, I think that is about everything. Oh, yeah, there is this. This is a quick shutoff for all the turrets on the vessel, inside and out. You can see the little blue lights illuminating out there on the missile racks, or the missile turrets. Flip this switch, it deactivates all of the turrets on the inside, the center turrets, as well as the turrets on the outside. Yeah, I know it's a small thing, because obviously you can go through the control panel and disable those from right here. But this kind of, I guess, saves you a couple keystrokes. That's about all it does, and I just thought it was kind of cool. Alrighty. Well, that's about all there is to the Fenris on the inside. And once we get on this space, once we get out into space and orbit around this planet, we'll go around the outside, and then I'll show you the turrets and whatnot. But before we cut, we are going to go and take a look, as I said at the beginning, at the other vessels outside. Like I stated before, the Hammer and the Anvil both were built on other survival servers long before I had ever joined the Wolves community server. And so I never had an opportunity actually to show those. But you've definitely seen at least the Hammer in my previous series, and I believe even the hover tank. Now both of these have also been updated for 6.0. The Hammer was in sore need of updating. Like I said, it's been around for a very, very long time, and I had to move quite a few of its components to the outside, and they're tucked in beside or inside these areas right through there. Also, too, once I start my survival series on the Wolf community server, I will probably downgrade these just a touch, especially in way of weaponry, just so they'll be a little easier to spawn in and won't require as much in the way of resources, because some of these weapons require some of the more rare resources. But we will start with the Hammer. The updates that I made to this was the thrusters along the outside. I moved those up to the medium thrusters. I believe they are called for the... Let's just find out for sure. Whoop, wrong button. There we go. Yeah, enclosed medium thrusters. There was a bunch of the small thrusters just inside the walls, and I wanted it to have a little bit more mobility. I mean, this thing's heavy as a brick anyways. I mean, it's a dropship. It's not made for agility, but I wanted to give it a little bit more oomph, so I added the medium thrusters there. So they're also along the bottoms and the tops. And I know I've stated in previous videos that I like to hide my thrusters, but it just for the sake of size and the way that it was originally built, I couldn't really do that. So I had to, they are exposed. At least some of them. I think maybe a couple of them might be hidden, but I don't know. We'll make our way up inside, especially since, excuse me, since we are able to move a lot of the components and hide them within the walls. I was able to get a little bit more in the way of space for other components that you do have to access directly. Let's just go ahead and turn this ship on. There we go. Is this light off? No, there we go. So you can see what it looks like once it's illuminated on the inside. And as you know, if you power on a vessel, it shuts all the shutters. There we go. And it leaves that blue force field over these as well. This ship is capable of carrying up to 5 people, including the pilot. And if I remove these center consoles and I can plop down another passenger seat, it would have a capacity for 6. But it has a constructor as well as a number of cargo containers and 2 refrigerators. And just up here, originally, like in this position here were the fuel tanks. And there was one up here too in this compartment, which I have now placed the O2 station. So yeah, this is my baby. I love the Hammer. I've used it a lot throughout my play of Empyrion, and I will continue to do so. That's why I wanted to give it a proper seat on the Fenris. Let's go ahead and shut this baby off. And there we are. And you can see some of the components. Let's turn it back on. Some of the components are there below the floorboards, which are fine because obviously there's one block separating me from where they are positioned under the ship. There we go. There's that. We'll make our way over here to the anvil. The Anvil was the very first ship that I built with this design, with the rounded corners mixed with the harsh, hard edges and whatnot. And after I built that, I was like, you know what? I want to build another ship, a small vessel that looks like it aesthetically, and that's where the Hammer came from. And then in turn, the Furies, and then lastly, the Fenris. And again, I will be utilizing these on the community server, but I will downgrade these. I will probably also, I want to mention this before I forget, and I probably will if I don't mention it now, is that all of these vessels will be available on my workshop content page. The content page is a bit of a mess right now. There's not a lot in there. I have to add descriptions and the like. But I will get to that, and all of these vessels will be available for you to subscribe to and download. But like I was saying, I will probably downgrade this as well, so it won't be so resource intensive to spawn in. So there will be doubles of these. There will be the fully upgraded versions of these ships, as well as a downgraded version of these ships. But like I said, the anvil was one of the first builds I did in this style. And I had to modify it pretty drastically. I think probably more so than I did the hammer, because all of its components were located on the inside of this ship, and it was just such close quarters in here that I had to move them out somewhere. So I had to add these little sections here to house the generators and the fuel tanks. So yeah. And originally the hammer did not have a passenger seat. And it really needed one, especially because of the cannon along the top up here. The, what is it? Oh yeah, the artillery turret. Artillery turret, if I can speak. That way, well, also the passenger can access any of the turrets on the ship, but especially that one, because it's good to have a pilot and someone who can control the weaponry while you're on the move. Let's go ahead and turn the anvil on, power it up, let you have a look on the inside. It too is very similar to the hammer in the way of its components and compartments. Now it has two exposed ammo boxes. I just did that because this ship, or this hover vessel, didn't have as much space to place things or hide things as the hammer did. And there are 4 ammo boxes on this vessel, and the other 2 are situated somewhere behind the forward-facing miniguns. But it has 4 cargo containers, as well as a fridge, O2 station, and a constructor. If you're out in the field and you need to make something, store something, grab a bit of oxygen. It also has a ventilator too, which is situated there just behind the console in front of the cockpit. So it too is all up to date and ready to go. Excuse me, and we'll take a look really quickly at the outside. Turn this light off. We'll do the same for the hammer real quickly too before we move on. I originally did not intend to have this headlight that high, but because of, again, space, I had to move it up, and I found that it cast the light out much further, which I kind of like. It was kind of an intentional, kind of happy accident. But yeah. All right, let's power the anvil down. And we'll power the hammer back up just so I can take you on a bit of a tour of the outside. There we go. And we might as well use the creation mode jetpack so we can just rise above it. And I hope that in the future that these little sensor discs or this radar will eventually work. Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic. Give them an actual purpose. I'm assuming they're going to. I think I even read somewhere that they will in time. You know, they've got a lot to get to. But okay, let's turn that off. We'll drop, and we're going to power down the hammer. Oops, wrong button. There we go. And it's very dark. But you actually get to see the Fenris outside now that it's dark. A little bit. You'll be able to see a little better in space. But anyways, which brings us to the next part. We are going to I'm going to load all of these vessels onto the Fenris, and we're going to make our way into orbit. And I have the original gunboat up in orbit there, and we'll do a bit of a comparison in size just to see how much has changed between that vessel and this one. So yeah, but I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and I will return shortly. Alrighty guys, we have returned and we are now in orbit above the planet. And just off to our port side is the original gunboat. But before we make our way outside and take a look at the Fenris's armaments and the comparison between the original gunboat and the ship as it is now, I wanted to walk around on the inside and let you have a look at the lighting now that we are in space. So let me stand up out of the cockpit here. There we go. You can take a look at the upper section. And there's the original gunboat. Make our way down these stairs and take a look back. You can see the turrets there, just slightly illuminated against the ceiling. Alright, let's make our way out into the hub. And we'll just pop out back here to where the hammer is docked. Alright, and then the two bays off to the port and starboard side for the Furies. I love the look of space above this planet. It is gorgeous. Alright, we'll make our way back inside. I'm not going to go to the other bay. They are exactly the same. I won't do that. I won't do what I've done before. So let's make our way down to the crew deck. That's where the ventilator is positioned. The lighting for the crew quarters and the mess hall are pretty much the same as they were when we were on the planet. Maybe just a slightly bit more illuminated from the sunlight. And the showers and the toilets. We'll just pop right over here real quickly to the mess hall. Again, pretty much the same. The lighting effects, they are amazing. And we'll pop down to the hangar level. And like I'd stated before, the thrusters for the... Let's turn those off. Alright. And for some reason, I'm guessing it's just something with the experimental build. There we go. That should have taken it. Even though you have your power cut, for some reason you'll still get the particle effects from the thrusters until you just shut them down completely. I'm not sure what that's all about. But like I had said before, you could possibly put 4 anvils in here. It'll be a tight squeeze, but it is indeed a possibility. Or, to be honest, any moderate-sized small vessel could probably fit in here. 2 small vessels, obviously. Yeah. Alright, and the engine room. The turrets look so ominous inside in the engine room. Alright, now let us make our way outside. Let's get inside the grav lift and shut down our jetpacks, or I should say turn on our jetpacks, so we just aren't free falling once we exit the Fenris. There we go. Topside, we have a mixture of missile turrets as well as flak cannons. There's only 2 of those up here. There are 4 plasma cannons, and the rest are plasma turrets, or I should say pulse laser turrets, and then there is the massive artillery cannon on the top just above the hub. And there are 2 fixed artillery cannons on the nose of the Fenris. And along the underbelly, we have more of the same. We have 2 flak cannons. The rest are pulse laser, and then there are 2 plasma cannons. And also there are 2 pulse laser cannons to either side both starboard and port. We turn the light on so you can see a little better. The Fenris has 2 large thrusters on either side for a total of 4, and then there are 8 altogether of the smaller, I guess these are the medium size. Let me just make sure. Just to be certain. Yes, the medium sized thrusters. There's 8 of those. Alright. And let's take a look at the original gunboat. Now this is a older build of the ship. Like I said before, the vessels that we used on the Wolves community server were a touch more modified. The comparison between, as far as armament goes, I think the Fenris only has like 1 or 2 more turrets than the original gunboat, but it's pretty close. But there are no sentry turrets on the insides. But width-wise, they're relatively the same. The Fenris is obviously a little longer to accommodate more areas like the quarters and the docking bays and whatnot. I've used this vessel extensively. Alright, but if you guys are curious to see more builds, there are quite a few guys that have channels on the server, and they have all done extraordinary things, and I will leave links to their channels as well in the description below, as well as the link to the Steam group page for the Wolves community server like I have done in the past. But I also wanted to give a special thanks to TheWolf for allowing me the opportunity to build upon his fantastic work and come up with the Fenris. And so yeah, but that is about all the time we have for this go around. And if you've enjoyed this video, please leave me a like. I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to continue our adventures in Empyrion, subscribe to my channel. Also, leave a comment, because I am always interested to hear what you have to say. But until next time, and like I said, we will have another series start here at some point in the future on the Wolves community server. But until next time, my friends, be well.